So far, we have read the battle with Grendel to understand it, to be able to comprehend it, and we looked at some literary devices. And what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go back through and we're going to be looking at how the battle with Grendel is an allegory. And an allegory is a literary device in which the characters, the setting, and the events represent deeper meanings. So it's to teach you a lesson. And you're going to see that right here at the top, I have what Beowulf, Grendel, and Herod will represent in this allegory. So Beowulf is good, Grendel is evil, and Herod is a person's life. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at how the battle between Beowulf and Grendel teaches us a lesson, is an allegory for the battle between good and evil in a person's life. So I'm going to start you off, and we're really going to look at how these pieces work together. And you're going to notice that what I've done, let's just look at this part right here that I have highlighted in blue. So you're going to notice that what I did is I annotated. So I highlighted these three things: Out from the Marsh, Swampland, and Gold Shining Hall. I highlighted those. And then here's my notes that go with that. So I've used green matches with green. Moved quickly, sliding silently matches with yellow. The blue matches with blue. And the pinky color matches over here. All right, so let's just look at this first little bit. And let's look at how this is an allegory to teach us a little bit about how evil will move into a person's life. And just so that I'm clear before we get started, whenever I say evil, like I know a lot of people get this idea that evil has to be just some demon sitting in your corner. No, evil can be something as simple as gossip to something as serious as drug addiction. So whenever I say evil, it's something that's coming into your life to destroy it. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at how the battle between Beowulf and Grendel represents the battle between good and evil, is an allegory for that. So if you'll notice the first part, let's look at the green. So what I did on the green is I highlighted where Grendel's coming from and where he's going. So he's coming out of the marsh, out of the swampland, to the Gold Shining Hall. And I'm actually going to also highlight this, High Herod. I'm going to highlight that in green as well. So that way you can see me highlight. So I'm just going to go to the green. So we've got out from the marsh, from the swampland, going to High Herod, the Gold Shining Hall. So you can see over here in green, I have my notes. Marsh, swamp, and if you think about what it's like to walk in a swamp, it's difficult, right? If you step in, you sink down, and as you go further and further, it gets more and more difficult to walk. Whenever I picture a swamp, it's very dark, it's dirty. All right, but then look at where he's going. He's going to the Gold Shining Hall. To me, if you're going to talk about gold and shining, I think joy, success, happy, positive things. So my note there is that evil will come from dark, difficult, dirty situations to invade joyful, successful lives. So you can see that I got that from where he's coming from and where he's going. And that teaches us, where does evil come from? Where does evil go? All right, now let's look at the yellow. He moved quickly, sliding silently. So we're looking at this yellow here. Moved quickly, sliding silently. And I just put my note right over here. Evil will sneak into your life quietly and quickly. So you may not notice as evil is getting closer to you. Just like they didn't know that Grendel was getting closer to Herod. So you may not know that evil is about to enter your life. And then the blue highlight, Grendel knew the way. And so if Grendel knows the way, let's ask ourselves, what does evil know? Because evil knows how to get to you, just like Grendel knows how to get to Herod. So what does evil know about you? It knows how to get to you because it knows your weaknesses. It knows your temptations. So it's able to get to you through those things. All right, let's look at the pink color. This is how Grendel enters Herod. Now, at this point, I want you to think about how he enters, and I want you to add it down there. So Right here I have the pink. He journeyed forever joyless straight to the door, then snapped it open, tore its iron fasteners with a touch, and rushed angrily over the threshold. So right here I have, this describes how Grendel enters Harriet. But what I want you to do is I want you to add your notes. So what are you going to add? You're going to add, based on how Grendel enters Harriet, how do you know, what do you know about how evil will enter a person's life? Well, look at it. Grendel snapped it open, tore the iron fasteners with a touch, rushed angrily in. So when evil actually enters your life, how's it going to enter? And that's where I want you to add your notes right here. Okay, once you get your notes for that, let's move on to the next yellow. I highlighted this part. Then he stopped, seeing the hall crowded with sleeping warriors, stuffed with rows of young soldiers resting together. His heart laughed. He relished the sight, intended to tear the life from those bodies by morning. So when we read this through the first time, we got that Grendel was excited. He was happy. That's how he was feeling about seeing all of the warriors. But let's look over at the notes that I have to the right. The sleeping warriors could represent the happiness, success, relationships in a person's life. Because remember, we said that Harriet is going to represent a person's life. So with that being said, the warriors are inside of Harriet. So since the warriors are inside of Harriet, that could be things that are inside of your life. And think about happiness, success, relationships. So just like Grendel is excited that he's about to destroy all the soldiers and kill them, what can you add? So add your notes here. What can you add to that? And you're probably sitting here thinking, okay, well, what do you want me to add, Miss Pippin? I want you to add, what does evil want to do with the happiness, success, relationships, etc. in a person's life? And how do you know that? You have to look at how Grendel feels and what Grendel wants to do. And that's going to tell you how evil feels and what evil wants to do. So once you add your notes, you can go ahead and pause the video and add your notes. Once you get your notes there, you can go on and move to the next part, and we'll pick up there. On this next green part, I've really already given you the notes that you need, but if there's anything you want to add, you may. But Grendel snatched the first geat he came to, ripped him apart, cut his body to bits with powerful jaws, drank the blood from his veins, and bolted him down, hands and feet. Death and Grendel's great teeth came together, snapping life shut. So whenever we read this for comprehension, we talked about how Grendel comes in and he starts killing just like he's always done before, but we know that Beowulf's there and waiting for him. So just like that, when Grendel kills that first geat, it may seem like he's going to destroy all the lives in Harriet just as he's done before. But then what you can add here is you can add what evil will seem to do. So what will evil seem to do? So just like it seems like Grendel's going to come into Harriet just like he's done before, whenever evil comes into your life and it starts to mess things up, it might seem that, and then fill in the blank for what you would think. All right, so go ahead and add something there. And then once you do, you can go ahead and press play and pick up with us. Okay, again, I'm giving you on the blue, I've highlighted some evidence, some textual evidence, and I've given you a note about literally what's happening in the fight. But I want you to think figuratively. I want you to think about the allegory portion. So the part that I have highlighted in blue here is just about how when Grendel got to Beowulf, Beowulf leaned up on one arm and grabbed Grendel. And you can see my notes over here on the right. Beowulf was prepared to fight back. So you have to think deeper. I've given you literally, Beowulf was prepared to fight back. But figuratively, when we're thinking about the allegory, what does good have to do when evil enters? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just have to think about it a little bit. And go ahead and get your notes there, and then pick back up with us I'm going to move on down to the pink. Grendel's one thought was to run from Beowulf, flee back to his marsh, and hide there. So Grendel wants to run away so he can survive and return when Beowulf is not there. And we talked about that when we read for comprehension. But now what I want you to do is I need you to add some notes about what will evil try to do. Whenever you start pushing back against evil, what might evil do? Now, I've shown you that you can add your notes here, but if you would rather, you can highlight and hit the little comment button over to the side, and it will give you that option as well, okay? So either way, whatever you would like to do. All right, so with that being said, go ahead and get your notes of what evil will want to do, and then move on down to the yellow. Because the yellow part is Beowulf's response to Grendel wanting to run. So Beowulf stopped him, held him closer. Just like Beowulf will not let Grendel go because he wants to make sure Grendel will never return, what do you have to do whenever you start fighting back against evil? What do you have to do? Can you let it just go away for a little bit? No, you need to fight it until it's gone and it's never able to return. All right, let's move down to the green. Now this green portion, this is a very long portion, but I want you to get this part. This is the part we talked about all of the imagery about the fierce battle that's going on inside of Herod. And I want you to get this. There's a fierce battle between Beowulf and Grendel that takes place in the beautiful and strong mead hall Herod. Remember we said that Herod is going to represent a person's life. So Herod is very beautiful and strong. So what does that tell you about the person's life that we're looking at here? That person's life can be very beautiful and strong. That person can have a good life. But that doesn't mean that evil's not going to try to come in and destroy. So just because someone has a very beautiful and strong life, has a good life, doesn't mean that they're not going to face evil at some point. All right, let's move on. On this blue part, this is the part where Beowulf's men try to help him, but they are no use. So Beowulf's men try to help him, but they're no use. And what does that tell you? That Beowulf is the good that's going to fight against Grendel. But what's going to happen if you try to fight evil with other ways besides good? Because Beowulf is representing good. The men can represent other good things, but not the good inside of a person. So that could be fighting evil with evil. It could be fighting evil by ignoring it or whatever. But whenever you try to fight evil with those things, what do you get from it? On this next pink part, Grendel saw that his strength was deserting him, and that just goes to show you that whenever you start fighting back against evil, what is going to start happening to evil? Just like Grendel saw that his strength was going, evil will start to, and then fill in the blank, put your own word there. All right, let's look at the yellow. The battle was over. Beowulf had been granted new glory. So ultimately, Beowulf defeats Grendel. What does that tell you about good versus evil? That if good will stand up to evil and it will continue to fight and not give up, what ultimately is going to happen? All right, and let's look at the green. And after that bloody combat, the Danes laughed with delight. And I put my notes, finally, after years of sadness and fear because of Grendel's terror, the Danes are happy. But what you need to do is you need to tell me, what do we learn about good and evil? What do we learn about evil? That after years of fill in the blank, what evil could you be talking about? If you defeat that evil, what are you going to have? And then at the very end here, the blue, no Dane doubted, because Beowulf hung his proof from the rafters, the arm, claw, shoulder, and all. So Beowulf shows off the proof that he had defeated Grendel. When you defeat evil in your life, you will have a story to tell, proof, a testimony. And so there's not really anything to put there, except you may want to put what your proof is that you've defeated evil. And I want you to think about that. What evil have you defeated in your life? And what is your testimony? What is your proof? And that's what Beowulf has there with Grendel.